It's funny how a single phone call can flip your whole world upside down. One moment I'm standing on my back porch, mug of coffee in hand, enjoying what's left of a quiet morning. Next, I'm staring at a pile of splintered wood and memories, my workshop, my sanctuary, while Karen Bishop, the queen bee of the HOA, is practically chirping at me over the phone. You'll be getting the bill for the demolition, plus a significant fine. Have a blessed day, Mr. Garrison. That's what she said, as sweet as syrup and just as sticky. Underneath, though, was pure venom. My heart didn't break with a bang. It cracked slow and silent right there in my chest. I could still smell the pine and sawdust, that scent that used to mean peace, now mixed with the acrid reek of gasoline and loss. All my tools collected over decades gone buried in the wreckage. But the worst, the half-carved rocking horse for my granddaughter, the one my late wife Sarah designed before she passed. Gone too, just firewood now. That shed wasn't just lumber and nails, it was part of my soul. Most folks think these stories about HOA dictators are just urban legends. Nobody really believes your own neighbors could go so far. But I'm telling you, it happened. Right here, right to me. And let's be honest, when somebody tries to take everything from you, smiling the whole time, they don't just light a fire under you. They forge you into something else. When you're cornered and got nothing left to lose, that's when the real fight starts. That was the day I promised myself Karen Bishop would never sleep sound again, not so long as I drew breath. But my plan wasn't to go scorched earth. No, I was going to beat her with the very rule book she wrote. I'd spent 30 years as an Army Corps of Engineers colonel, strategy, patience, and the long game were pretty much my bread and butter. She thought she'd destroyed a shed. Truth is, she'd just declared war on herself. Thing is, I never wanted this fight. 5 years back, when I bought this 5-acre stretch just outside the city, all I wanted was some peace. A place to build that house Sarah and I had doodled on napkins for decades. The day we closed on that land was the day freedom finally felt real. I built the main house myself with a couple of old Army buddies. Then I built my workshop solid, simple, tucked up against the old oaks. That shop was my retreat, my tether to Sarah, my answer to the empty afternoons. No neighbors, no covenants, no headaches. Just quiet. For a couple of years it was paradise. But cities never stop growing, do they? Before I knew it, a developer bought up all the land around me, slapped down a master plan subdivision, and called it Willow Creek Estates. Suddenly, I was the lone holdout, my house surrounded by a sea of beige boxes and plastic lawns. Most of the new folks kept to themselves. But then came Karen Bishop rolling in with her pastel tracksuits and that look in her eye that said she'd never been told no in her life. She didn't see a neighborhood, she saw a blank canvas. In less than 6 months, she'd wrangled up enough signatures to create a homeowners association, not that I was about to join. My land, my deed, all recorded years before Karen even knew this zip code existed. She came knocking anyway, clipboard in hand, and gave me the spiel about community standards and property values. I told her, as polite as I could, that I'd spent 30 years protecting property values with a rifle and a blueprint. I didn't need a committee to tell me what color to paint my door. That was the first time I saw the real Karen flicker behind the mask. She wasn't used to pushback. It didn't take long for her to start the paperwork war. First, it was a violation notice for unapproved landscaping Sarah's wildflowers by the tree line. Into the trash it went. But she was just getting warmed up. Her little bureaucratic siege went on for years. I was her white whale, and that shed-stained dark cedar, nothing like the HOA's favorite beige, became her obsession. The first real shot fired was a fat envelope with a new bylaw about accessory buildings, written, I later found out, by Karen herself. My workshop, built years before her fiefdom existed, now supposedly needed retroactive approval, an application fee, and a $100 daily fine if I refused. I read the letter, and that cold anger, the kind that comes from being played for a fool, started burning in my gut. I didn't take the bait. I dug up every scrap of paperwork, deed building permits, a timeline that proved my property was never in her HOA. Then I called Marcus Thorne, my old Army buddy turned property lawyer. The man loves 3 things: chess bourbon and making bullies eat their words. When he heard the story, he let out this slow, wicked laugh. She's about to learn, Colonel, he said, just how far she's overreached. Marcus drafted up a letter, a formal, certified slap on the wrist, complete with state codes and a polite warning about legal action. We even got Karen's signature on the return receipt. Her response: dead silence. But the flood of fines began week after week, each more absurd than the last. Garbage cans out too long, an unapproved vegetable garden, my American flag supposedly improperly illuminated, though I'd installed a solar light myself. Each envelope went in a growing file I labeled the Karen Campaign. I never paid a cent. Marcus was clear, acknowledging her claims was as good as admitting she had authority. All the while, the neighborhood started splitting into silent factions. Some glared, others avoided eye contact, but the ones who smiled at me did it like they were scared of being seen. It was just a matter of time before things got ugly. And then one morning there it was, a bright red final notice taped to my workshop. The HOA would remediate my unauthorized structure in 72 hours, meaning they'd bulldoze it, send me the bill, and slap on another fine. Karen's signature was at the bottom, big and proud. I called Marcus. She's really going to do it, I said. She's crossing from civil harassment into criminal action. Don't confront her, he told me. Document everything. Install cameras. And hardest of all, let it happen. That last part nearly broke me. But I understood. In the Army, sometimes you let the enemy take ground so you can win the war. This was one of those times. I spent the night before walking through my shop, wrapping Sarah's old tools, taking photos of every inch, my hand resting one last time on that unfinished rocking horse. I'm sorry, Sarah, I whispered. The next day, An appointment, couldn't miss it, and Karen knew it. On the drive, my phone buzzed, motion detected. I watched the feed. A flatbed from Rise Demo and Hauling rolled up, Karen right behind, clipboard in hand, looking like some third-rate Napoleon. She directed the crew, didn't even flinch as they tore down the door I'd built, tossed years of memories into the dirt. Chainsaws whined, sledgehammers fell. When they dragged out the rocking horse and split it in half, it felt like they were cracking my ribs open. I sat in that sterile hospital waiting room, forced to watch it all in HD. By the time I got home, nothing was left but bare dirt and splinters. I knelt down, picked up a piece of cherry wood, let it bite into my palm. This was war now, and I had evidence. I called the sheriff. He started off dismissive until I showed him the video, watched his face shift from bored to angry to deadly serious. Sir, this is felony destruction of property. Finally, someone saw it. Next call was to Marcus. He watched the video, silent as stone. Then we've got her, Colonel. Not just for you, for everyone. That's when the real tide turned. I started knocking on doors quietly, asking, ever have trouble with the HOA stories spilled out? Old. Mrs. Gable fined thousands for garden gnomes, the Millers, with a lien over their kids, basketball hoop banners, paint colors, barking dogs. Karen hadn't built a community, she'd built an empire of fear. Found myself an ally in Frank, a retired Marine gunny who'd been fighting his own satellite dish war. We called a meeting, figured a handful would show, but the room overflowed. I played the video of my shed's demolition and a gasp went up. Suddenly, all the little paper threats felt real and folks were ready to fight. Marcus put together a lawsuit that hit like a sledgehammer: destruction of property, trespass, emotional distress, racketeering, and a class action to dissolve the HOA. Not just for me, but for 27 families. The HOA's lawyer scoffed. Marcus sent him the demolition video. See you in court. Discovery was brutal. Every email, every text, every petty plot Karen ever wrote, how she'd make my life hell, laughed about tacky gnomes, planned the demolition while I was away. It was all there, intent, malice, and enough evidence to hang her out to dry. And then Frank brought in a reporter, Sarah Jenkins. She aired the whole saga. The video, the families, the fear, my service, Mrs. Gable's tears. Karen, in her arrogance, agreed to a TV interview and crashed her own reputation. She became a meme overnight, the face of everything wrong with HOAs. Public outrage exploded. The insurance company folded. Settlement conference, me, Marcus, Karen, her board, their lawyers. They offered peanuts. Marcus played the video on loop, sledgehammers, chainsaws, my granddaughter's rocking horse. After the fourth run, the lead lawyer caved. Our terms: $200,000 cash, all legal fees paid, Every fine and lean nullified written apologies sent Karen and her board out for good, and my workshop rebuilt better than before, all on their dime. That's how it ended. Karen left town with her tail between her legs, her empire in ruins. The new board, led by Frank, rewrote the rules. No more tyranny, just neighbors looking out for neighbors. The day my new workshop was finished, I stood inside, breathing in the smell of new beginnings, tools replaced, bench ready, and a block of cherry wood set aside for a second chance at that rocking horse. The best part, Mrs. Gable gifted me a ceramic gnome for the new shop, she said, beaming. I set it on the windowsill, a tiny guardian. That night I fired up my saw, the hum filling the room with hope. Justice, like a good piece of furniture, takes patience, but it's worth every ounce of effort. Sometimes the worst thing someone can do to you is give you a reason to stand up. Karen thought she could rule with fear. All she did was bring us together. She tore down a shed, but she built a real community. In the end, I learned something I wish I'd understood sooner. Bullies don't win. Not when people decide to stop being afraid. So now I'm left wondering, how much power is too much for one person? Where's the line between protecting a neighborhood and destroying it? If you've ever tangled with someone like Karen or had to fight for your own bit of peace, let's hear it. Was I right to stand up, or should I have walked away? Share your thoughts below, and maybe, just maybe, we'll all find out where justice really lives.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video của mình.